God, I'm telling you, my dogs are barking today.
But man, my dogs are barking.
Well, welcome into the My Dogs Are Barking podcast, and welcome to State of the Dogs, which is our weekly show where Austin and I break down, kind of give a quick recap for Mississippi State's previous game, which in this case was Mississippi State at Arizona State, and also give a preview to the upcoming game, which is Mississippi State and the Toledo Rockets. Austin, man, the game this weekend was, for Mississippi State fans at least, was a rough one. Started at 9:30 Central, so already the day's done, and you're having to caffeinate up just to stay awake with it. But then, you stay up only for you to be disappointed in this game. This was a game that was massively frustrating and disappointing for Mississippi State fans. Am I correct?
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, man, what a wild game. Like you said, 9:30 kickoff. That was rough in itself. I mean, Mississippi State fans are not built for that. And it was just, this was such an important game for us. And, we just came out there and we didn't get it done. It was a very, very hard first half to watch. I mean, it was almost unwatchable at times. There were some times I just wanted to look away, to be quite frankly, but it was a wild game, and I'm so glad it was over. I'm so glad it's over. We can look on to Toledo, but Arizona State, I mean, props to you. I always talk about how bad we play. That's what I always think about. But really, Arizona State came up to play, and shout out to them, and shout out to just that whole coaching staff and Kenny Denningham called a great game. And really, we couldn't get it done, and our defense really, really struggled. Did not have what it took to win this game. And, we gotta look on. We gotta have a short memory because this was a very tough game to watch.
You mentioned Kelly Dillingham. I think I'll tell you what, I came away from this game thinking, if I'm an Arizona State fan, I'm remarkably excited for the future. Like, he has a presence about him and honestly a confidence that is kind of shown in somebody you kind of know is going to succeed. Like, and it could be anything in life. You meet somebody and you go, man, that person has got something about them that they're going to succeed in whatever they do. That's the kind of the feeling that I think Arizona State fans have to have with their head coach. He really has had some gutsy calls on fourth down. Sometimes coaches can just be old school and go, well, fourth down, let's just punt it. And he's thinking like, you know what? No, if you go for it, we can end this game. And so he played really smart. Arizona State was good behind this young man running the ball here that you see on the screen if you're watching on YouTube, watching our video for him. Cam Scatabo for the Arizona State Sun Devils was unbelievable. You see him there stiff arming Bryce Pollock, looking like he's giving the Heisman pose because he might as well have been the Heisman. It was unbelievable. In terms of defensive performances, if you can remember the 2016 defense with Peter Sirmon as a defensive coordinator, that team was frustrating, but it seemed as if, and someone else made this point earlier, so it's not original thought to me, that team had some kind of stars on defense. That had some people that play in the NFL. Sorry about that. This is a defense that doesn't appear to be the case. Am I right, Austin?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, a lot of guys, Coleman Hutzler, he had a lot of bad play calls for sure, just the way he tried to stack the box or the lack of, to be honest. And yeah, we just don't have a lot of guys who can just make plays. I think with 2 games, I think I saw Isaac Smith has 28 tackles. That's a guy that has made an immediate impact this season, and I'm so glad. He has such a bright future. That guy's probably going to be playing on Sundays. Other than that, nobody just wants to step up and make plays. And that, that goes in, that's so big in recruiting, and that's so big in the transfer portal. We had a lot of turnover, a lot of guys left, and a lot of guys come back in. But the guys that came, just people at Purdue, just people at Memphis. It just not a lot of guys have a lot of Power 4 experience. And obviously it's showing. Yesterday it showed. We don't have a lot of guys that have a lot of reps, that have a lot of starts, and that really showed yesterday. We just don't have a lot of guys that can get it done. Even our best players, man, like Stone Blanton did not have a good game. There was a lot of guys that, we look at and we're like, he's one of the best players on our defense, and he didn't. John Lewis, he had a very quiet game. He didn't do much. There's a lot of guys on this team, on the squad, that just did not do it very much and did not step up when they needed him most, other than Isaac Smith. I mean, shout out to him. He's been playing phenomenal these past 2 games. But other than him, I mean, I literally can't name one person that would be like, okay, he's also good. So yeah, I think that's a big mishap in just recruiting and obviously in the transfer portal. So we as Mississippi State has to do something about that soon.
Yeah, and it is odd, and we'll wrap this up talking about this game, and so we can get to previewing Toledo. But this was a game where Mississippi State is used to having a defensive line that'll blow things up, really cause issues. In the past couple of years, they just have not had that. But this is a game where I felt like, man, they are being outperformed in the trenches consistently, and that's not something that's often said about Mississippi State teams. But you're right, yeah, putting. Look, we're not coaches on the collegiate level. That's not my area of expertise, and obviously people get paid a lot of money to do that. They're smarter than I am. But I guess I can't wrap my head around if Arizona State's not throwing the ball very effectively, and yet they're putting 3 and 4 in the box, man, and just getting shellacked. I mean, look, just a quick look at the stats. Sam Levitt was 50% on his throws, and he threw for 69 yards. He averaged 3.5 yards a completion. Cam Scatabo was unreal. I mean, 33 carries, 252, I think that's just 62 yards. He averaged 8 yards a carry. I mean, so you think about that. 8 yards a carry is insane for 33 carries. That's a lot of yards. And so Mississippi State in the end just could not stop him. Now, on the offensive side of things, Blake Shapen threw for 258 yards, had 2 touchdowns. Blake Shapen did not play bad at all. I think Shapen made whenever he was under a little bit of duress, he made some quick decisions, got the ball out, and moved the ball. The problem is the time of possession was dominated by Arizona State. And so Blake did a great job of getting the ball to his playmakers. Kevin Coleman with a huge play there in the fourth quarter, an 80-yard touchdown. Jordan Mosley played well. Seydou Traore had a drop early. But overall, I mean, the receivers are not to blame. The offensive line, when it comes to the running game and kind of a zone blocking, is not very effective. The running game really looked bad. Not even okay, they just look bad. And if you cannot run in this offense, you're just not going to succeed. And so give it to Blake Shapen. He played really well. But in the end, you have to be able to make some of these plays when it counts. Mississippi State could not get off the field. Thinking about Cam Scatabo towards the very end, in the second half, Mississippi State outscored Arizona State 20-3. Offense looked good. In the end, it comes down to a 4th and 1, and Cam Scatabo gets the first down on a 3rd and 10, or on a 4th and 1. Arizona State goes for it on their own, 35, 36. Because they know that they can get it. They have confidence, and sure enough, they had no problems in getting it here on the screen. If you're watching, this is Kevin Coleman's 80-yard touchdown, just unbelievable speed. Mario Craver with some speed as well. He played well in this game. Also, there was a penalty on him that was questionable, I would say, offensive pass interference early that looked like it might have even changed the game. And in the end, it comes down to Cam Scatabo on a 3rd and 10. And he runs it and gets the first down, and game over. To quote Zach Arnett after last season versus Arizona, game over. That was it. And so yeah, you're watching the play now. They ran the ball all over Mississippi State, and they could not be stopped. Now, I really do think there are some things to be encouraged by in this game. Mississippi State really did move the ball once things got settled down. Blake Shapen played really well. Mississippi State got a quarterback in the portal. They got a guy who really can play, who can throw the ball down the field, who doesn't panic, who can scramble a little bit. Like Blake Shapen in this game, for all things considered, I really think he played very well. And so anyway, that's the final 30-23. Mississippi State falls at Arizona State. A very, very late night. But now we turn the attention to Toledo. We turn the attention to the Toledo Rockets. And earlier in the season, Austin, you and I had the opportunity to interview some of the fellas from the Midnight Blue and Gold Launchpad podcast. And I'd encourage you to go take a listen to their podcast everywhere you find your podcast. But they're really cool guys. But we just kind of had a preview episode where we talked about what this game might be like once it comes to September. But now it's here, Austin. What are your thoughts coming into this game?
Yeah, a lot has changed ever since, literally last night. I think that a lot of people are probably going to look at us even worse than they did because, at least some people thought we were going to win that game. And, when we didn't come out on top, I think it definitely is going to hurt us even more. But I got a good feeling about it. Toledo played UMass on Saturday, and UMass obviously is a bottom tier team, and they didn't look great. They really didn't look great, and I think that on the second half offensively, I got a lot of just good vibes from our offense, and I'm feeling good about it going into Toledo. I haven't really looked at their defense at all, but I think that we have a really opportunity just to show what Showtime's all about. It's back in Starkville, so we don't have to worry about playing all the way in Arizona. We're playing at home. I believe it's a night game. I'm really excited about the game. I think that this is a major, major game to get back on the right path. And I think Blake Shapen and our offense has got to get going. Our defense has got to get key stops. We cannot let them hang around in the game because our offense doesn't need that type of pressure. They just need to go out there and do what they've been doing and would do what they did in the second half, because that second half was very good offensively. I felt, our defense just couldn't give our offense the ball. I mean, that's really what it came down to that second half. We definitely could have easily come back in that game to tie it up, but I mean, our defense just didn't want to give us the ball. They just couldn't get the key stops that they needed to. I mean, Arizona State straight dominated the time of possession all game. And that's how you win games. I mean, that was our first SEC win of all time. That was our first one ever. And so it was so crucial that they had to just destroy the time of possession, and they did. And so if we can, score fast, score from afar, like I always say, and just show what Jeff Levy's offense is really all about, I think that, I think we're in for a good Saturday in Starkville.
Yeah. As you mentioned, Toledo took on UMass, won the game 38-23, but they had to score 14 there in the fourth quarter. This was really up until then a very close game. A very interesting stat line for Toledo. Their quarterback Tucker Gleason was 8 for 23, and admittedly, this is not a game I watched all the way through. So we're talking statistics at this point. But he was 8 of 23 passing, but he threw for 175 yards and 3 touchdowns. So while he didn't complete a lot of passes, the passes he did complete, he really made count. Junior Vandross III, their wide receiver, caught 3 passes for 115 yards and a touchdown. He was their leading receiver and did really well. Now, I know what you're thinking if you're a Mississippi State fan is, well, can they run the ball? And that's a great question, especially after this past this past Saturday. Toledo ran the ball for a total of 83 yards in this game that they mostly passed for, as I mentioned, 175. But their leading rusher was actually their quarterback, which is going to be another guy, just like Sam Levitt was able to run the ball. Tucker Gleason ran the ball for 34 yards, averaged about 11 yards to carry, but he carried it 3 different times. Their running back, Willie Shaw III, had 8 carries for 25 yards, but he got a touchdown. And they had 2 other guys that carried the ball for 4 times for a little under 20 yards each. So Mississippi State they're not getting away from a quarterback who can run, who is mobile. Man, that was just such an issue. If I think that Sam Levitt, for ASU, if he cannot throw the ball, well, he knew he could. If he tucks it and runs, man, he's going. I mean, I'm not joking. It was amazing. It was 8 and 9 and 11 play rushes every time they got the ball. And he tucked and decided to run. So Mississippi State is going to have to figure out and put a quarterback spy there, which I think towards the end of the night they started putting Stone Blanton as a quarterback spy, and it just still wasn't effective. It did not work the way they wanted it to work. So overall, though, the Bulldogs at this moment, Austin, tell us again, what are the Bulldogs favored currently?
I think the line right now is looking. It's 9.5. So that's what we're favored. 6:30 kickoff, and so that's what it's looking like right now. But we're recording this on Sunday, so who knows what it's going to be in the future. I don't know. Probably will change in the next few days.
Yeah, could change. I could be very wrong. I would imagine that goes up to 10 by the time Saturday rolls around. these guys are good. I mean, Arizona State was favored at one point by 7, and then at 6.5, and they won by 7. So they're not bad at all. Alabama was favored by 31 in their game they played versus USF, and it was close until the very end. And you know what? They ended up winning by a little under 31 points. So you just never know. But I would suspect kind of for prediction time, Austin, as we move into that. Mississippi State offensively, this is a home game. Jeff Lebby knows, and as we talked about Dillingham for Arizona State, I think Mississippi State still got the right coach. They just don't have all the right horses just yet. They don't. He doesn't have all the players he needs. But offensively, man, for a first year. Quick coming in the portal for Mississippi State, this offense showed, okay, it has some real promise. That team last season, if they got down like that, I don't think they would have scored over 3. They might not have scored. I mean, really. And so this team is kind of a little bit different in that they have some fight to them. But I'll go ahead and give my prediction first, Austin. Then I want to hear from you. But I think Mississippi State is going to come out early and try to see if they can overwhelm Toledo. By sometimes when you're on the road and another team, the home team, scores quick and tries to get momentum early, it's just too hard to stop them and too hard to catch it. Kind of gets you off of your rhythm a little bit. So I think the Bulldogs score early on and try to make this a blowout. Although I do not think it ends up being that way. I'm going to take Mississippi State 34-17. I think Toledo's going to score a little bit just because of how the defense that Mississippi State has shown thus far. So I'm going to take Mississippi State to take the Bulldogs 34-17. Austin, what about you?
Yeah, ours is actually very similar. I'm saying 37-20. I think that Jeff Lebby's going to want to drop a lot of points, and I think that he needs to do that. I think we definitely need to drop plus 30 for sure on Toledo. And I think that our defense, let's just be honest. I mean, after last week, I think we know that they're going to drop and we're going to let some teams score on us just because our defense is they looked very, very rough, especially if they have a running quarterback. That's very scary to me because we really, really struggled stopping the run last night. So I think they're going to get a bit of offense, but I think our offense honestly is just going to be more too much for them. I think Blake Shapen, we got some guys at wide receiver. I mean, that was a really good second half showing. Like you said, I mean, Kevin Coleman, that 80-yard touchdown, that was awesome. That stuff wasn't happening last year. You know, obviously we saw Houston drop 12 points with Kevin Barbay yesterday. Last week they dropped 7 points against UNLV. That's the type of stuff we were doing last year. You know, I mean, we weren't doing what we are going to do this year, and I'm so excited about that. And I mean, if we played this game last year, I really would. You know, Toledo had a great team with Daquan Finn last year. They probably would have beat us, just to be honest. And so I'm feeling good with Blake Shapen and with with Jeff Lebby. It's that was just a second overall game, but you know, the defense is not his thing. Offense was his thing, and that second half, the offense really did their thing. And so I'm feeling good about Blake Shapen. I keep saying Blake Shapen, Jeff Lebby. I'm feeling really good about that and where we have. And I'm glad you said it. Like I think that we made the right hire. I think Zach Selman. I still have a lot of confidence in what Zach Selman did and brought Jeff Lebby here, and I'm really excited for the future. But yeah, I'm saying 37-20. I think they're going to score. I do think they're going to score 20. That's 2 touchdowns and 2 field goals, or something like that, and then or 3 touchdowns, 1 extra point missed. So we'll see how it goes, but that's what I'm feeling. I say we win by 17. I think that's pretty good.
Yes, I would agree. That and even then, who knows? That might be being very gracious to the Bulldogs, especially after the defense. Something to remember. I know that people want instant gratification. They want an instant team that's going to be able to win. But when Mike Leach died, and it came over to Zach Arnett, and Arnett switched the offense. You got to think about it. That there's certain athletes for the air raid. Then Arnett had certain athletes for, whatever the offense was last year. And now there's a certain athlete for this offense. It takes time to get who you want. But even giving them a calendar year, Lane Kiffin's first season in the SEC, now I know it's COVID, but he went 5-5. Mm-hmm. 5-5. Levy needs a little bit of time to get this right. And just, if the defense, also I were talking before this, if the defense for Mississippi State plays average and does not allow Arizona State just to sit with the ball, the first half, Arizona State's opening drive, I think took 6.5 minutes off the clock. And they scored 3. And so if Mississippi State plays average enough to get them off the field, I mean, this is a different game. This is a game that Mississippi State's a lot closer in. So give Jeff Lebby some time to get his guys in there. But one way that people can do that is by showing up on Saturday and being loud for Toledo to come to town. Because here's the deal, guys. If Mississippi State wins this game, they're 2-1. They've got a winning record, and they've got Florida coming in, and Florida's a little tipsy-turvy at the moment, coming into Mississippi State. And if Mississippi State finds a way to pull that upset, and I know that would be a huge upset. They're 3-1 going into the Texas game. Would you not take 3-1 going into play Texas? And so obviously a lot of things have to happen before then. Got to play the games, but this whole season is going to be interesting. But it is a rebuild. You have to keep that in mind in order to do anything. And Dan Mullen, his first season in 2009, I know he had a lot of improvement, but man, there was some clunkers in there that they did not look good in several games. It takes some time to get the offense and everything else right. But yeah, Austin, as we wrap up here, man, do you have anything else that you'd like to offer as we finish and we close?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, it's coming to the game Saturday. Keep showing support. I really feel very confident that this team has a great future. And like you said, it's just a rebuilding year. I mean, last year, I don't know what last year was, but this year we're just trying to rebuild from that terrible, terrible disaster last year and that just dumpster fire of what it was. And so Jeff Lebby, that's what's going to take time, man. There's so many freshmen on this team, especially offensively. We're just going to have to take time and let Showtime do his thing. But yeah, I mean, what you could do this year, obviously give to the NIL. But yeah, just show up to the game, show your support, show these players that you're not giving up on them. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, that's just the main message I would say to all the fans. Don't give up hope. I mean, we can't forget that Arizona they were favored to win this game by 6 points. So we can't forget that. We weren't favored to win that game. I know it was a very important game for us, but we just got to keep our head up. Look, just 1 week, 1 week at a time, beat Toledo, then beat Florida, and then go into the rest of the season. But yeah, I just take your time, be patient. But yeah, I think that's the number one thing, just patience for Jeff Lebby for sure.
Absolutely. And hey, if you're around Starkville on Thursday, Hardy, a country artist, rock artist, artists in general, Hardy's coming to town to play at Duty Noble Field, and we will be there. It's going to be a great time on Thursday night. Just hanging out on Duty Noble Field. That'll be the first time, at least for me, that I've ever been on the field.
Me too.
At Duty Noble. So I told Austin I'm going to steal second base while I'm there just to say I did it. I stole second at Duty Noble. But it's going to be a good time. So Bulldog fans, thank you so much for listening. SEC fans, I do want to touch on this at just the very end, Austin, maybe 60 seconds a piece or so. But the SEC had a wild day. College football in general was wild in this week 2 season with Auburn losing to Cal. Obviously Notre Dame, they're not SEC, but Notre Dame, losing their game. Auburn did not really look good or really, remarkably competitive in the game. And they were at home and they lost. So that's bad news. Tennessee looked incredibly dominant. LSU played around with its food for just a little bit. Georgia looked as they always do. Alabama really struggled early on. Awesome. Any takeaways from this SEC weekend?
Yeah, the teams that we're
Kentucky,
not playing.
maybe?
Yeah, the teams that we're not playing ever, like that we usually play every year, having a down year. Kentucky got obliterated by a South Carolina team that isn't very good. Like you said, LSU for that first half was not playing good at all. Alabama for 3 quarters, I'll say it, they were playing terrible. They were not playing the Alabama way at all. I mean, that wasn't Alabama football at all. I don't know what they were doing. And then we don't have to play any of those teams. And we used to play them all the time. And then we got to play Florida. Florida looked great. DJ Lagway was throwing dimes yesterday. And obviously Ole Miss balling, Georgia balling. So the teams were playing, Texas absolutely obliterating Michigan. So all the teams that were playing played well. Texas A&M beat McNeese by a lot of points, so it should be an interesting season for the Bulldogs, strength of schedule wise. But yeah, I mean, for the SEC, not a very good look for about half the team for sure.
Yeah, and next week I don't even know what the best game overall is. College Game Day is for some reason is going to South Carolina for South Carolina. Well, I say for some reason there might not be a better game, to be honest with you. There really is nothing like there's not any top 25 matchups even. Like it's all good teams playing bad teams. So I don't know I take that back. Missouri is actually facing Boston College, which actually that's not a bad game. Why didn't they go there? That's
interesting. Yeah.
Over South Carolina, at least. Aye. Anyway, it is going to be a great week 3. It's going to be wonderful, but we thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening to the My Dogs Are Barking podcast. And thank you so much for listening to State of the Dogs week 3.